Hello and good morning. My name is Dan Colgan and I am the organist and music guy here at Gloria Dei Lutheran Church in Olympia, Washington. These are my weekly devotions from the organ bench. Today is Saturday, July 25th, 2020. The hymn I would like to look at today is the communion hymn used in worship tomorrow. ELW 775, Jesus Priceless Treasure. This is a German Lutheran hymn known as Jesu meine Freude, or Jesus my friend, directly translated from the German. There's a lot to unpack in this hymn. The text was written by Johann Frank, who lived from 1618 to 1677. Frank was raised by his uncle, as his father passed away when he was 2. He was raised in the East German-Polish border and studied law. Born at the same time as the start of the 30 Years' War, he had a rather unsettled childhood, but eventually became a lawyer in the town of Guben, where he was elected to the town council and eventually became mayor. The tune of this was written by Johann Krüger, who lived from 1598 to 1662. This tune is believed to have been written for this text and has been widely used by a number of composers, including J.S. Bach. Krüger was born in Prussia, was the son of an innkeeper. He spent most of his life in Berlin as the cantor of St. Nicholas Church and as the director of music at the College of St. Nicholas. Krüger, born about 50 years after Martin Luther's death, wrote over 70 hymns in the German style of the time. His tunes are considered a bit more refined or less rugged than those written by Luther himself. Krüger was also responsible for the first hymnal, published with tunes and a figured bass, which was a type of harmony notation at the time, a crucial step solidifying the importance of the use of organ and harmony with congregational singing. There's a third figure of importance I'd like to mention with this hymn as well, and that's the translator, Catherine Winkworth. She was English and lived from 1827 to 1878. She translated almost the entire repertoire of German chorales from this period, making them accessible to English speakers in a tasteful way. Many English translations of chorales up to this point were either a bit too literal and clunky or a bit too poetic, losing the meaning of the text. Winkworth had a knack for incredibly tasteful translations, which managed to balance the meaning and poetry with great artistry. Hundreds of her translations are found throughout hymnals in use today, and dozens are found in our ELW hymnals. Here is verses 1 and 3 of the text as Winkworth has translated it. Jesus priceless treasure, source of purest pleasure, truest friend to me. Ah, how long I've panted, and my heart has fainted, thirsting, Lord, for thee. Thine I am, O spotless Lamb, nothing in this world can hide thee. Naught I ask beside thee. Hence all fears and sadness, for the Lord of gladness Jesus enters in. God who dearly loves us, from all trials saves us, gives us peace within. I have borne this worldly scorn, still in thee lies purest pleasure, Jesus, priceless treasure. Now, the text for this was modeled after this love song, Flora meine Freude. Perhaps this explains some of the very overt language of the flesh of Jesus and the reference to the seemingly physical pleasure that's mentioned, rhyming with treasure. Perhaps this is to drive home the image of the church as the bride of Christ, likening an early relationship with that of the church, an earthly relationship with that of the church. Maybe not, though. As I mentioned, J.S. Bach set this tune and text a number of times, using it in his cantatas 12, 64, 81, and 87, a few organ works, and an 11-movement motet. In that motet setting of this, Bach Works Volume 227, if you want to look it up later, he pairs this text with a lengthy fugue written on Romans chapter 8, verse 9, which reads, "You are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, since the Spirit of God dwells in you." Paul Westermeyer, in his explanation of Bach's usage of this Romans verse, says, and I quote, "Lest this text seem escapist, he said it with the most taxingly physical of musical forms, a fugue. True, you are not in the flesh, but you know this through the incarnation of Christ in physical stuff, the physical stuff of a fugue and a bridegroom." Some scholars look at this the other way. Perhaps Bach's intent was not to comment on the hymn by using the Romans text, but maybe it was to comment on the Romans text by usage of the hymn. The book of Romans contains many key Lutheran tenets, especially this one, about living in the flesh and according to the Spirit. And then maybe Bach intersperses this first-person point of view hymn full of emotion to help describe that. Whatever the case may be, this is a text which for some may be comforting and for others may prove challenging, proposing an uncomfortable and very personal way of looking at a relationship with the church and with Christ. This can be a delicate balance and leads us into careful thoughts. But I'm reminded here about our English limitations on the word love as we use it. The Greeks had 6 words for love, but our language kind of squishes them into one. But there are 2 seemingly at play here. We sometimes often think of love as what the Greeks would call eros, the passionate, sensual love that we share with perhaps a partner or a spouse. However, the love Paul is referring to in his epistle is not this, but it's a different type of love which the Greeks would call agape. Agape refers to the unconditional love God has for all people, or the goodwill and charity of others towards humanity. The bottom line, this hymn may have started life as an eros song, but what a gift that Franck reworked it and it can be used 500 years later in an agape type situation. So I'm going to play this hymn through twice. The first version is as it appears in our Lutheran hymnal today, with Kruger's original rhythms and a harmonization based on the figured bass from his hymnal. The second version is one of Bach's chorale settings of the tune, used in its original key the way he set it in his motet.